Welcome back to the Pauper set review for Dominaria United. We are starting off with the green commons for the format. Joining me is Josh, all the way is known as Mayo on the internet. We're going to kick things off right away because we got a lot of bangers to talk about in green with Bark Weave Crusher, which is a 2/5 elemental warrior for 4, 3 and a green, with Enlist and nothing else. And a quick refresher on Enlist: as this creature attacks, you may tap a non-attacking creature you control without summoning sickness. When you do, add its power to this creature until end of turn. We've talked a lot about Enlist and the other colors, and the primary signifier on whether or not a card was going to be good with Enlist was what its toughness was. If that holds true, this card's great. What do you think?
Yeah. Now this card is a terror on the other team. If you see a creature just even with 2 power, just getting hit with a 4/5 that you can't do anything about, that it really puts a damper on your prospects. Yeah, I like this card. I'd put 2 in a deck, but no more than that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to watch your 4-drops. It is still a 4-drop that can't really attack much on its own. But 2/5 is not a body to laugh at. And that being said, I don't know that this is going to make the cube. I think that the 4-drop slot, specifically in green, is already hugely contested. I don't think this has the gusto to really carve a spot out of that. I don't see Pauper constructed finding any way to slow down enough to play this card. However, boy, in Dom U Limited, this card is going to be terrifying. Moving right along, next up we got Bitedown, our first green combat trick. Cool art, man. Bring in more dinosaurs. 1 and a green for an instant. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. So this is the current iteration of the fight or bites, which have slowly evolved into just bites. This one notably targets planeswalker. Not super relevant for Pauper at all. However, could be played in other formats. I think this card's pretty good. Otherwise, I can't see this card making a cut in the cube. I don't know what would ever run this over Ram Through. In Constructed, I mean, Ram Through is a huge, powerful card in Pauper Constructed and like Boggles already. I can't see this card ousting that for any reason. But in Limited, I mean, this card does everything you want it to do in Limited, right?
Oh yeah. Especially just like the other bites that green has. I am a huge fan of this. As it's instant, and you got the creature size to just kill anything, and not taking damage on the return as you do with the fights. This card is just the best kind of green removal. But yeah, Ram Through is just it's too good.
Also, I want to issue a small apology to the Kavu fanboys of the world. This isn't a dinosaur; it's a Kavu. I know the difference. I just like the art. We can move on that. We've got the coolest badass badger there ever was. Next up, we have Bog Badger. It's a 2 and a green for a 3/3 badger with kicker of a single black. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, creatures you control gain menace until end of turn. You know, I think that this is one of the most kickable cards we've seen. 1 black seems like very little to throw in the face of a 3/3 for 3. And giving your board menace can be quite strong, should you have the board to support it. I mean, this can end a lot of games in Limited. this isn't exactly what green black wants to do in the cube, so I don't think we're gonna talk about it there. Um, Although it is a good card, I think. Um, and yeah, I can't think of any deck that really cares about this in constructed Pauper. What do you think?
Yeah, this card is a terror in draft and uh, in sealed as well. Just, I mean, it's harder for me. It's hard to see when you want to cast this because 3/3s for 3 are always hyper playable.
Yep.
And then the kicker of just ending the game is, I want to say, it's too good to not want to have more than one Bog Badger in your deck.
Yeah.
But this isn't making it out of limited.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, what's after the Badger Boy? We've got Colossal Growth, a 2-mana kicker card for green. It's got 1 and a green instant for kicker of single red. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. If it was kicked, instead that gets 4/4, trample, and haste. So for 3 mana, red, green, colorless, you can give something 4/4, trample, and haste. Otherwise, it's just a giant growth with an extra mana on it. I'm conflicted about this card, I'll be honest. I want this card to be good. I don't think it is. I think that 3 is too much to pay for that when you have something like Colossal Might in the format, which is already a red-green pump spell that gives 4 power and trample. I don't think haste is really worth 1 whole mana on this, although the 4 toughness is nice. I just think 3 is too much for this effect. I think 2 is where you want to be most of the time for like a aggressive combat trick that you've got to do before you're in combat. You know, the biggest risk of 2-for-1ing yourself. I think in limited this card's probably great. I could see an argument for replacing this Crash Through with this card, just because it does have the additional functionality of giving haste if you need it to. But I don't know, man. Colossal Might just seems better than this. What do you think?
I don't like using this beforehand, to where you can get blown out with it. It does give an extra 2 toughness, so that's helpful, but I'm not paying 3 for like a giant growth plus here. I think it's too expensive and too awkward for me to wanna to play it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if it was just a green and a kicker of red, and it didn't give haste, I'd be all for it. The extra colorless I find it really difficult to keep up 3 mana for a single combat trick.
Agreed. I think that 2 is about as expensive as I'm willing to pay for it, and this is pretty low on the scale of 2-mana counter spells, or 2-mana combat tricks.
No, you said it right the first time.
Alright, let's roll it over to the next guy. Up. Deathbloom Gardener. It's a 1/1 elf druid for 3. Man, this better be good. 2 and a 2 colorless and a green gives you a 1/1 death touch elf that taps for a mana of any color. So this is Typhoid Elf of Paradise. I think this card is probably great in limited, but boy, I can't see it in anything else.
I think we got to work on that name.
Can you see this being played anywhere outside of where you're opening it from a pack? Because I certainly can't.
No.
I think in those formats, this card's probably incredible. It does everything you want it to do. It's a 1/1 that ramps you, and it has Death Touch, so you can cash in on your lenoir elf later in the game for some value if you need to.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I don't think this is going anywhere else at 3 mana.
I mean, this is probably the closest we get to a playable version of the blue 2-drop that adds a mana to cast an instant or sorcery. Only this adds a mana for an instant. Because like that's the only way you're
Right.
going to get extra value out of this. You never want to have this thing tapped. Yeah. This is just a solid deterrent. I don't think that adding 1 mana of any color matters that much on this card. And if you're playing it for that reason, then I think that there's easier ways to achieve what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I think this card should have been a 2/1 for 2 with the exact same text box. Like,
Yeah.
it would have seen some play, but still not be incredible. Yeah, I can't imagine 3 mana being the right cost for this card. All right. Next up, elham worm or elhame. I honestly have no idea how to pronounce that.
Elfheim.
Elfheim. All right, elfheim worm. It's a 5/4 for 5, 4 and a green with vigilance and training. This card's great and limited, but is this where we want to be at any other point in the Pauper format? I don't think so. I think this card is far outclassed by the 1 mana 5/5s we're getting in so many colors now. And vigilance really isn't the saving grace of this card either for 5 mana. So, yeah, I think this card's probably great and limited, but I don't see it anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well put. It's not a great Enlist creature. You just want to be swinging with this in the normal way you do with, any other green creature. This is a creature that always wants to attack. Yeah, there's not much else to say about this. There's no like fancy tech here.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got next. Ferris Vine Wall. It's a plant wall for 2, 1 and a green. For a 0/2 defender, when it enters the battlefield, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a land card from among them, put it in your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Please stop templating the bottom of the library in a random order. Should be any order, and you know it. Otherwise, I'll be honest. In a format that has very quickly been taken over by Basilisk Gate, I think this card's probably pretty good. Dig 6 cards for a land. Like, that's a lot of cards. Now, when you line this up next to, like, Gate Creeper Vine, is it better than that? No. But, I don't know. Maybe you need 2 versions of Gate Creeper Vine in your deck, and this is number 5 and 6. I think there's probably a deck for it. I don't know what that deck is, but probably exists. I can't imagine that a Gates deck at some point in the near future doesn't pop up, like a dedicated Gates deck, not like a deck with Gates in it. A deck that functions solely to put the Gates together and use them to win the game. And I think this is probably a part of that deck. But limited, this card's bad. I just can't see you playing this card in limited. It's not doing enough for a 2-drop. And a 0/2 is not holding anything back even equal to its mana cost. Replacing itself with a land is okay, I guess. But, yeah, I don't know. I think the deck for this card exists in the future, but not yet.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's still some power budget left on this card. They could have made it an 0/3, so it could block effectively. I mean, getting any land, though, from among the top 6, that seems to be relevant here. This, for me, would fit in a domain deck over Gates.
It could. If this stayed a 0/2 defender, but it was a 2 mana and it said top 6 cards, reveal a land, put it into play, this card's great.
Oh, jeez, that's too much.
If it's rampant growth with toughness, like, but it's not rampant growth. It would just be top deck dependent rampant growth. Like, you can even cut it back. If this was a 0/2 for 2 that ETB'd and it revealed the top 4 and you got to pick a land and put it into play. Like, how far back do you have to scale this card before it's reasonable? 4 cards?
Well, the closest analog I can say is there's a 1/1 at 3 that looks at the top 5. Working off of that, I think 4 is the lowest that you can go with an effect like this.
Yeah, so maybe 6 is close. I mean, with power creep, if a 1/1 for 3 can look at top 5, maybe a 0/2 for 2 can look at the top 6. I don't think this card should put it in your hand. I think it should put it into play. I'll just say it. Yeah, I think a deck for this card exists in the future, but we don't have it yet.
I think this is a balanced form of this effect. The one that I would argue pushes it a bit is actually the gate search creature. I forget the name of. But yes, it's well within design space. A 0/3, I think, would have made this more effective.
Sure,
More desirable.
I'll concede that. A 0/3 would definitely make this card a little bit better, but I don't think you're going to be that happy about playing a 0/3 that draws you a land. I
mean,
and for the love of God, stop putting cards at the bottom of my deck in a random order.
Yeah, I mean, this card with the Vine Wall effectively says it's a sorcery. It's not a creature. It's a sorcery.
Yeah,
that's what you're getting.
All right. Next up, one of my favorite cards in this set. Awesome art, awesome effect. I'm in. It's Hexbane Tortoise. It's a 3/2 for 3 mana, 2 and a green. It has Ward 2 and Enlist. Like, this card seems good. Ward 2 seems powerful. And I like that this is an aggressive 3-drop on a turtle. The art's fantastic. I don't have any qualms with this card outside of its toughness being a little too low for it to be a turtle.
Mm-hmm.
If this was a 2/4, it'd be incredible.
Oh yeah. Hey, pal, if it's a 2/4, get rid of Ward, and it's still a good.
Right, it's still good without Ward if it's a 2/4. Yeah, I think this card's quite good, actually. Even as a 3/2, I think this card's really good. I think Ward 2 is an insane ability on a common. And I think Enlist is pretty good on this. It's cheap enough that you will play this on curve and almost always get to attack and enlist a card and be pretty happy about it.
Yeah, I think this card has a really good chance of being applicable outside of limited. Because I think inside this limited format, it's not that great just because of, again, the amount of tokens that exist, the lack of being able to pump its toughness. It really shines when it can't just be chumped and killed with 2 tokens. So that's but I do also really enjoy the art because you see another little tortoise on top of his
the baby
head.
Turtle riding the turtle. Yep, definitely. All right.
That's where the word comes from.
Exactly. All right, let's see. What do we got next? Oh, what a banger. We have Lenoir Stalker. 1/1 elf warrior for 1 green. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, it gets 1/0. Boy, is this Foundry Street Denizen on steroids. This card is bonkers good. I can't imagine a card that Elves is happier to see at this point. Like, Pauper Elves is going to windmill slam this card. They had recently added, at least some variants had recently added, the 1/1 for 1 that gets a 1/1 counter whenever a token enters the battlefield. And it's been okay. But boy, is this card better than that. This card is your Elvish Vanguard 5 through 8. Wow. Dude, this card's great. Worth noting, if a Gruul aggro deck does pop up, It does not care if it's a green creature. It's just whenever another creature enters. So it could be even like Foundry Street Denizen's been played in every red aggro deck since it was released. Like this card's certain to see play in at least something. What do you got here?
No, like you hit on all of it. Very specifically the not a green creature. It could be any creature entering. Um, yeah, this isn't just an elf's card. This is a green Foundry Street Denizen, and it's loud and it's proud.
And it's better than Foundry Street Denizen. It comes down on 1. Like
Foundry Street comes in on 1.
oh, you're right. Yeah. I was thinking of the other one, the 2-drop 2/1.
The Tin Street. Yep.
Tin Street. Yeah, Tin Street Hooligan. I mean, just like for just a moment, like Magical Christmas land this card with me. Just turn 1 Lenoir Stalker, turn 2 land, Burning Tree, Burning Tree, Burning Tree, Burning Tree, any other creature, attack for 6. Like this card's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that you're winning that game. I don't know if it's because of the Lenoir Stalker in that Magical Christmas land scenario, but it's certainly helping. Yeah. Like that is getting 6 damage out of a 1-drop. You know, more reasonably, you're getting 3 damage out of it.
Yeah.
It's really good.
All right. What do we got next? We have Magna Goth Sentry. It's a 4-drop tree folk, 4/4 for 3 and a green, with reach. Nice and simple. It's just a humble tree folk. Personally, I think that Pauper has progressed past this power level a long while ago. I don't think that this is going to do anything for Constructed. I don't think this is going to see any play in the cube. I think this card's probably fantastic in Limited, and you will draft this pretty commonly to block, what I can only assume will be some sort of a flying aggro deck out of the blue with some white or some red in it. But that's about the extent of the impact of this card, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, Giant Spider eats your heart out, but this card, it's even then with the extra 2 bump on its power, I don't think it's good enough.
Yep.
I don't know what you're worried about blocking that has flying, outside of Limited here. There's better reach creatures that do that for cheaper. There's better spells that just kill the thing anyways.
Yep.
So like, I don't think reach is that relevant of an ability on this creature.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, moving right along here. We have Scout the Wilderness. Now, I'm a fan of this card. I think this card's pretty good. It is a 3-mana sorcery, 2 colorless and a green, with Kicker for 1 and a white. It says search your library for a basic land card, put it in the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. If this spell was kicked, create 2 1/1 soldier tokens. So for 3 mana, you get a Rampant Growth, which seems above rate. For 5 mana, you get a Rampant Growth with 2 1/1s attached to it, which also seems below rate. I think, as I have said many times with other kicker cards in this set, I think both halves of this card are overpriced. The kicker at 2 mana is an instant effect. We've seen Raise the Alarm in several sets and similar effects to it. 2 mana for 2 1/1s at instant speed is the approved rate for that effect. This is sorcery speed. As a kicker, it should cost 1. Rampant Growth is a 2-mana spell. I have no reason why this card costs 3, and I certainly don't know why this kicker costs 2 at sorcery speed. Either make it an instant or make it cost less. I think this card is probably quite good in Limited. I think this card is absolutely garbage everywhere else.
So a lot of the stuff we've seen just cost more. This set definitely feels like it's trying to slow everything down, which is kind of at odds with the whole cheaper creatures cycle it's got going on. I think that if you're casting this, you're casting the first one for 3,
And the second one
You're
for
not
5.
happy about it. Second one for 5, and you're feeling mildly okay.
Yeah.
I don't think you're ever finding a forest with this if you are playing it.
No.
Um,
No, this is to enable like your splash so you don't have to play you don't have to
yeah,
play that red card from earlier.
right. So this is a Farseek
Yep.
uh with a jeez, what's the sorcery speed raise the on?
Bad.
Uh, right. So you're not happy about it. I mean, I'd play the two cards separately in the same deck before I played this card.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. What's next? Oh, we have our next root walla for Pauper, which is super interesting, because it doesn't have madness. 2 mana for a 2/2 root walla lizard, 1 and a green. It has domain for 4 mana, activated ability until end of turn. It gets +1/+1 for each basic land type among lands you control. Activate only once a turn. Um, I'm fine with that domain ability. That domain ability actually seems pretty good, but dude, give us a common madness root walla, you cowards. Like, we have one, give us another one. Why? I don't understand. They've printed 2 other root wallas. The last one that had madness 0 was uncommon, and this one doesn't get madness. I don't get it. Give us our madness lizards.
Yeah, I want my madness for 0. I want my domain activation on this for 0. I I feel like that's a root walla tribal effect. They should all have their costs be able to be reduced to 0 at least. Um, it doesn't feel great looking at this card.
So I have an interesting proposition for you. I'm
Hmm.
okay with the 4 mana for the domain activation. I think that's probably fair for potential +5/+5. I think it could cost 3 and be good. Um, what if this had madness domain, where it was a 5 mana madness, but it costed 1 less for each basic land type you had, so you could get to your madness 0. Would you be on board then?
See, I would be happy because it fits the theme of what
Yeah.
I'm saying for root wallas as the possibility to reach 0, just kind of like how they have, many different named
Yep.
lotuses or moxen, um, all dancing around the same kind of idea.
Yep.
I don't think this ever gets down to 0 that
But it
way.
could.
It could. That's the important part.
Yep.
And as a design space or a design choice, I would 100% agree with um, that card. Don't think it goes anywhere, but I agree with it.
Yeah, I'm confused as to why we don't have madness on this card. It's a Ruwala. Ruwala's get madness. Like, come on, R&D. You guys should know this. Um, yeah, very sad that this is a lizard that doesn't have madness. Give us madness lizards. Moving right along, we have Vine Shaper Prodigy, a 2 mana 2/2 elf druid for green to colors with kicker with 1 and a blue. ETB, if it was kicked, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library. So this is just a bear, with the ability to Seagate Oracle. So it's a 2/2 Seagate for 4, costing a green and a blue, or it's just a bear elf. I think this card's probably pretty good and limited. If you can cast it with kicker, you're always going to cast it with kicker. Uh, there's no chance this replaces Seagate in anything that already plays Seagate. Cube doesn't want this. Next question.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fine value card in the limited.
Yep.
Having 2, just to fill the bear slot. Then if you draw it later on, you're not unhappy about it.
Yeah,
You
replaces
just
itself.
take it and replace itself.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good green bear. Akin to, oh God, what's that? Tiger, the alpine bear. There's a common one from ages ago. Costs like 3, and you drew a card when it entered. You're happy to play that. Happy to play this.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least in green, coming down to the end here. He is, we knew it was coming, our cost reduction spell for green. It is Yavimaya Sojourner. It's an 8 mana cost reduction spell, 7 in a green for a 4/6 tree folk. It costs 1 less to cast for each basic land type you control. I hate the design of this card. I'll be straight up. I think this card's bad. At best, this card is a 3 mana 4/6. It only gets worse from there. 3 mana 4/6 would be fine. You're never going to get it to 3 mana. It's going to be a 5 mana 4/6 most of the time, and you're not going to be that happy about it. It has no other text. This is probably worse than the Hellion. At least, like, this is the only one of the cost reduction spells that can't cost 1, and I hate it. I hate that that's a design that they went with. All of the cost reduction spells should in some way be able to cost 1, and this breaks that for me, and I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, and also something to note, this is the only one that doesn't have a keyword that does something.
Right?
It has domain, but that's counting
That's its cost
as
reduction.
the cost reduction.
Yeah.
So that doesn't fill what, fill that little empty text spot
You could
right
have
there.
at least pretended to give it a keyword and said reach, you know?
Right. I mean, it's a tree folk. It's big. You could do reach. You could make it block an additional creature, whatever.
It
you know?
should have had
Give it
trample, but
something.
whatever. The red one has trample instead of haste.
Right.
Yeah, I don't like this. I'm sad that this is the last of the cost reduction spells. Like, this should not have been in that series. This could have been a card in the set and been fine, but this should not have been the last card in the cost reduction set. This is not what you want from that, and I'm upset that it breaks the kind of accepted rule that they can all cost 1 with optimum conditions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. The card is just a disappointment all around.
If this is a 6 mana spell from base cost, let's just knock it down from 7 to 5 in colorless, right? Get to the theoretical it can cost 1. 2 lands makes this a 4-drop 4/6 vanilla card. 3 lands makes it a 3-drop 4/6 vanilla card. That seems good. You're very rarely going to get it to 4 unlimited, and you're certainly not playing domain in a format full of gates and constructed. I don't know. I think this card would have been fine at 6 mana total instead of 8 mana total. I think it would have been good. I think it would have been probably pretty good. You could have made it a 4/5 instead of a 4/6 if you were really worried about it. Or you could have just made it a 4/4 like you made the white one. You clearly weren't that attached to the 5/5 staple text, so why wouldn't you just make this a 6-drop and trim its power and toughness to be appropriate so you could play it for 1 with optimum conditions? I don't know. I'm upset at this card.
Yeah, that's about where I am. It doesn't even have a relevant creature type to benefit.
Disappointing all around. I'm sad that this is where the cost reduction group ends us. But that was all the green cards. All right, that just about wraps up the bunch of cards for this color. Please like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal. It's a brand new YouTube channel. Any help really does matter. Share this video with your friends. And by all means, let me know if you think we misevaluated something. Sleeper Bomb, what's your favorite card out of this color? So let us know down in the comments below. As usual, goodbye forever. Let's see you tomorrow.